Welcome to Hard Rock Stadium. It's the home of the Miami Hurricanes. But on this night, there will be plenty of cream and crimson mixed in with, and perhaps even overwhelming, the orange and green. A most anticipated national championship game is just hours away. And with that, we welcome you in to Big Ten Today, a special 2-hour edition coming your way here live from Miami Gardens, Florida, alongside two-time Super Bowl champ Howard Griffith, former Michigan All-American Jake Butt, and perhaps most importantly, on this day, former Hoosier wide receiver Rhett Lewis. I am Dave Revson. Guys, you think about this story. This is one of those where I feel like if it would have been submitted for a Hollywood script, if you would have said, I have this idea that the worst college football team of all time gets a new coach, instantaneously they are transformed, and 2 years later they're playing for a national championship as an undefeated team, the Hollywood folks might have said, you know what, it's a little far-fetched. Why don't you go back and soften it up just a little bit? It's a crazy story. It's an amazing story, and it's an amazing team.
And I think part of the reason that we feel this way about it is because we haven't seen this done before in the history of really sport, to be able to do what Indiana has been able to do in 2 years. It's really been remarkable when you think about the way the coaching staff was put together, the way the players were put together. This is one of those great stories, and I think that as we move further away from this, regardless of what happens tonight, this is something that I'm sure all athletic departments and universities will be trying to study to get a grasp of what Indiana was able to do.
Yeah, I mean, throughout these 2 years, you know, as we've been watching it and wondering what's going on, I've been waiting for one of the players to question it or for one of them to slip up and indicate that they don't believe it. And yet I think that's maybe the coolest part is from the moment Cignetti got there, it was inevitable that he was going to lead his team here. And it's been on us to catch up to his leadership. And man, everything's earned in today's college football. You're talking about a 16-game season, everything you have to overcome, and to be flawless up to this point, Rhett, it's remarkable.
Well, look, I think as we write this story, as we talk about writing this story, there's some ink left in this pen. Right, for Curt Cignetti. And the way that I think about some of the first things that he wrote early on in his tenure. You know, he'd have his notepad out in December after he got hired, and he'd have his priority list. And number one was get players. And he got players that fit his system, that he knew that he could win with. And with that, he installed a belief in this team, in this program, in this university that we just hadn't seen. And so that part of it was incredible. And there's so much that could be said for the institutional alignment that allowed this moment to happen, for Curt Cignetti to even be here, Dave.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. It's crazy to me. You know, last year I thought was an amazing story. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, the schedule was fortuitous last year. I still think they absolutely belonged in the playoff, but they got some breaks. This year they got no breaks. Yeah, on the schedule. And it's funny to think back to our visit when we were there for the preseason tour. And I kind of expected there to be some self-congratulatory tendencies with this program. That, hey, wow, we really had a great year.
We've arrived.
And yeah, we've arrived. And, you know, hey, we're gonna build on it from here. But what I sensed instead was where the rest of the world saw this as a fluke, what happened last year. They saw it as a disappointment, and that really told me that this was possible. I was not going to sit there in August and say they were going to be here, but you understood that this was the ultimate goal. This was what they believed their program could do.
And think about this. Every program believes they have an opportunity to go out and really shoot for an opportunity to be in a championship situation, but very few programs actually can do it. And what we watched the first year of Cignetti really put together a marvelous coaching staff. And to me, it's about what the players were able to buy into. They bought into the plan. They bought into the process. And we saw that once again with them this year. And they just continue to grind and figure it out. And to me, we've talked about organizational alignment. And that is so important. And most organizations believe that they have that in place. But do they really?
Yeah.
And what we've seen from Indiana, we've seen what it truly means to have that alignment, to have every coach on the same page, your players believing in the things that you're saying from the front of the room. And this is how powerful it can be when it's put into a team atmosphere.
You know, Cignetti, it's just a masterclass in true rare leadership. I mean, he is bold and outspoken about his goals from the very jump. And the whole world is kind of laughing. Maybe he's making a joke about it. Like, no, that can't be real. Coach, you don't get to say that at Indiana. But he had absolute crystal clear a vision for where he was going to take this program. And right away, he was so clear, the team in the locker room bought in, the staff bought in. And to be undefeated in today's college football, though, you talk about the challenges this season, the road tests at Iowa, Oregon, Penn State, a conference title game, Rose Bowl against Alabama, Peach Bowl against Oregon for the second time in what was supposed to be the redemption game for Oregon, and to have not slipped up once with injuries, with the ups and downs of the season. It still continues to be unbelievable to me.
Yeah,
right?
sure. It started with the blueprint, and then he instilled the belief in that blueprint, as we were talking about, and then that took hold. But the thing that has impressed me, as much as anything with Curt Cignetti, is the messaging. And you talked about it a little bit. Like, you can't say that. You can't go out and say Ohio State and Michigan stink. But he's so deliberate with his message, right? He had to change the frame of mind of an entire fan base, not just the people that were going to play for him. He had to get the support behind him, and that was one way to do it. I win, Google me. He was talking to recruits. They went out and Googled him, and then now they are coming, right? And so that messaging, he talks to his team through us a lot. And he admitted that to us at the Peach Bowl when we were talking to him. I mean, I think about Aiden Fisher talking to us at a media day this weekend and saying, like, he's on the phone with his mom, and after every game he's like, yeah, we can't get complacent. And then she talks about how she's not getting complacent in her life. Curt Cignetti's messaging has affected everyone associated with this Indiana program, not just the players, and so that has been transformative.
It's amazing. It pervades everything, Champ.
Yeah, our crew was calling the Indiana-Maryland game early in conference play last year, and at that point, Cignetti had to send an email out to the student body saying, "Hey, come to
study later.
You. This is not Indiana of the past. We need you guys." And I think what's crazy to me is he didn't turn this around by going out and getting 5 stars. He got a bunch of guys that almost reflect his own mentality, a bunch of guys that felt they've been overlooked.
Bet on themselves.
They had a chip. Yeah, exactly. The players that he brought in felt like they had something to prove. Maybe that's part of the secret, is they all wanted to go do the impossible together.
A couple things I want to get to as we turn the page to tonight. And we go from the story to the matter at hand, right? Can you win a national championship? I mentioned off the top, this is Miami's home stadium. I mean, they are playing what in theory should be a road game. How big a factor do you think that will be tonight? I think we all know there's going to be a ton of Indiana fans here, but there will be a lot of Miami fans. I mean, it is their home stadium.
Right.
This is not going to be the Peach Bowl. How big an issue do you think that'll be?
I don't know how big an issue it'll be because I don't know what the crowd is going to look like, but I do know this. This is a Miami team that is looking and feeling like they're in a situation where they're being disrespected.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to play that card, and they've been playing it the entire time. I'm absolutely sure of it. But they're going to have to make plays. The crowd's going to have an effect. They always do. When will they be able to have an effect against this Miami offense? We'll see when they have the ball in their hands. But I'm just not so sure. It's still early. I'm anxious to see what the crowd looks like, but I do know this Miami team is coming to play and be prepared to get a game today.
Even if it were a true road test, and even if it was a dominant Miami fan base crowd, that's where I go back on the season. Indiana's had to play in some of the toughest road tests throughout the year, Oregon, Iowa, Penn State. I mean, those places are deafening. But even if it were 50-50, this is the story of Indiana. These fans I mean, they're all like kids. They are going to be screaming their lungs off with joy. And can confirm. I would be shocked if it was anything less than 60-40. There's a lot of crimson out here, Rhett.
No doubt, Jake. And I met up with some of my former teammates who have been coming down, and so many of them have tried to make every single one of these games, but some just couldn't take the second mortgage out on the house to make that happen. I mean, it is pretty incredible where the prices have gone, but it is that is the thing. It is a great story, and people want to be a part of it, certainly. So, look, the thing I'll say is Curt Cignetti's never lost a home game at Indiana, ever, right? And that included these last 3 postseason games, which have felt like home games. And as you mentioned, they've also been nails on the road. The thing I will say, there's a team in the state of Indiana that doesn't think Miami belonged in this college football playoff, but I think that is dangerous. I think that's important that you mentioned that Howard, that they've been playing with that chip on their shoulders.
Yeah, no
too.
doubt. I mean, they're the last team in, right? You have the number 1 seed against the last team in, and Miami has played like a team with something to prove, and they have played extremely well to this point. But to your point on the ticket prices, there's a reason the ticket prices are so high, and with all due respect, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, it's not Miami. I mean, it's the Indiana fans who are driving up the prices because there is such a pent-up demand to be a part of this. And again, IU has gone from a great story, guys, to a great team. And there are so many numbers that back this up. But let's just show you one set of numbers that I think is really incredible. IU is the first team since Yale in 1886. Now, keep in mind, the first intercollegiate football game was in 1869. So we're 17 years after the first intercollegiate football game ever. This is the first team to win 7 games by 30 or more points while scoring 55 or more themselves. Princeton had done it the year before, too. That's it. That's the entire list. That is 140 years ago. I mean, you think of all the great teams since then. And this is the first one to have done that. And that's where I think we kind of need to wrap our minds around it. And a couple minutes here, just some final thoughts before we send it to Chicago. And obviously, we got a ton more to talk about here. But this story has been a great story. And we talked about off the top all the reasons it's been a great story. But this team is doing things that no team has ever done, and they're not based on their historic futility.
Yeah.
They're doing that too. But they're doing things that no great team has ever done, no powerhouse has ever done, no multiple national champ has ever done. They are obliterating people, Rhett.
I think, Dave, the thing that comes to mind is leave no doubt. And that, to me, is part of Curt Cignetti's, the fabric of his being. And because there has been doubt surrounding him all over the place, leaving Alabama to go start a career as a head coach, on the small school level. And so it's his mission to make sure that people understand that his team is here and they are here to stay and that they are a force to be reckoned with, Jake. And so leave no doubt, that's what they do. They dominate. They don't just win; they dominate.
I'm fascinated just by the juxtaposition here of this. How many times have you said this is the first time in history?
No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
They're getting rid of that now, which is really cool.
And yet, when you're doing something for the first time, there'd be a tendency to look around a little bit, this is crazy. I want to take this in, and yet somehow, with how improbable this run has been, Indiana has an energy as if they've been here before. They have played with such confidence.
Right. But I think what's incredible about those numbers, we've talked a lot about how bad Indiana was for a long time, and they were indisputably bad. I mean, again, it is what it is, right? That's the reality. But now we're talking about this is one of the greatest teams ever, irrespective of what Indiana used to do. Again, teams haven't done this since the 1800s, what they're doing. I mean, they are absurdly good, Howard.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think along with Coach Cignetti and what he's been able to do, along with the transfer portal, along with NIL, lightning has been caught in a bottle.
Oh, no doubt.
And I think one of the challenges moving forward, not for Indiana, but the rest of college athletics, is how can we duplicate what went on in Bloomington?
Come back to South Florida, home of a Miami team that's 7-0 against ranked opponents this year. An 8th win would give them a national title for the first time in a quarter of a century. And part of the way that the Canes have done that is controlling the football. They are second among power conference teams in time of possession this year. And these two, as you can see, cut from the same cloth. Indiana's right behind them at number 3. Miami amazingly held the ball for 41 minutes last time out against Ole Miss. So let's get into some X's and O's here. And Red, I'll start with you. How do you see this matchup when Miami has the ball against what is a fabulous Indiana defense?
Well, I think, look, Miami's coaching staff's really smart. They're doing what is best for their team to win. They are finding the best pathway to victory, and on offense, that has been running the football and in some cases taking the ball out of the hands of their quarterback, Carson Beck, who at times can put the ball in some perilous situations. I think they have gone back and looked at the way Indiana has flustered, flummoxed, has frustrated so many top-level quarterbacks over the course of the last 3 weeks. Go back to Julian Sayin at Ohio State, Ty Simpson, who might be the second quarterback drafted when we get to Pittsburgh in the NFL draft in a couple of months, and then Dante Moore for the second time in the Peach Bowl, and said, we cannot put Carson Beck in those situations. We saw what happened in the 2 losses. The guy who's had 26 turnovers over the course of the last couple of years, 6 picks in those 2 losses. This year, if Indiana is able to stop the run, and they have to put the ball in Carson's hands, that's when this defense, Jake, is really at their best. When they force that indecision, allows that pressure that they can get creatively, right, with the first level and the second level, sometimes even the secondary, to finally get home. And that's a nightmare scenario for Miami.
Yeah, it feels like their offensive identity and offensive philosophy is with an understanding that their defense is going to win them ball games. Like, let's make sure that defense is fresh, because when they're fresh, good luck. I mean, the defensive line is outstanding. It's also to protect Carson Beck. They want to run the football. They also use a lot of wide receiver screens as an extension of the run game. Their perimeter blocking is outstanding, and they got playmakers that are strong runners. They break a lot of tackles. To your point, can Indiana stop the run? Can they tackle on the perimeter when it comes to the wide receiver screens? And then it becomes a game. Third down is going to be its own separate game. Like you said, the simulated pressures, the zone coverage, the changing in zone structure post-snap. There is a number of NFL quarterbacks, whether it's Dante Moore twice, Julian Sayin, Ty Simpson, that are quality quarterbacks that were completely lost at what they were seeing when it comes to Indiana's changing coverage picture in the back end. That's what I want to see. If Indiana can get Carson Beck into 3rd and long situations, that is a big advantage for the Hoosiers' coverage and simulated pressure.
Yeah, I think one of the things we always want to start up front with what they're being able to do at the line of scrimmage. But this is where I think Pons has a huge part of this game. Because if he can take care of that half of the field and they allows this Indiana team to come down, and if they need to add pressure, they can do that. Not that they have to, because this is a talented defensive line that when they stunt, they have the gap integrity when they're rushing the passer, when they're playing run defense. So those linebackers have the ability to read off those defensive linemen to get into the backfield. But they have to be able to stay on schedule the entire time defensively, being able to stay in your gap, not get...
He has the football would also be special teams. One, they got a great field goal kicker. So the closer you get, I mean, they can get 3 points at a minimum up with the best of them. But then their special teams, and Cignetti talked to this, especially with Tony as a punt returner, like the more you can do to back Miami up will also be a chess match to try to help your defense out a little bit, Red.
Yeah, I also come back to the ways in which Indiana, has been able to stop the run. They can do that with some run stunts. They get creative on that side too. But I also look at the personnel that has stepped up over the course of the last month or so with injuries, like we talked about with Stephen Daly. Mario Landino is an unsung hero in this defense. He has been phenomenal moving out to the field defensive end at times, and at 280 pounds, holding his own in the interior, right, throughout this run. I think he and Tyreek Tucker together, which goes back to the coaching, as we talk about at the coordinator level a lot, but the position coaches, Pat Kuntz has done a phenomenal job with those defensive tackles, and they really start things with the run defense, which is going to be huge in this one.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Miami, and I think it's interesting, and give a ton of credit to Shannon Dawson, right? I mean, he's an air raid guy. Like, that's his background.
Yeah.
Like Dana Holgerson, Hal Mummy. Last year you had Cam Ward. I mean, this was a team that wanted to kind of throw the ball all around. And I think that he has recognized, to his credit, that their best strategy this year is exactly what we saw, to control the football. Everything you guys are talking about. Mark Fletcher's been amazing here during the college football playoff. You can see why Ohio State wanted him at running back, right? Why they were falling all over themselves, and why when he committed to Ohio State, Mario Cristobal sent him 250 text messages saying, would you like to reconsider?
Reconsider, please.
Like, we all get it. But Indiana's really hard to run it on. I mean, they've only given up more than 100 rushing yards twice all year. So it feels to me like, and I think you guys are all saying, that's the battle, right? That if Miami can run it and get themselves into a position where then Indiana can't pressure the quarterback to the extent that they want to, then Indiana's in a little bit of trouble and maybe on their heels. If Miami can't run it, advantage Hoosiers.
They're going to go back and forth in this game, right? Miami's going to win some plays in the run game because this is the Miami team that's built from the inside out, and they have the skill positions to make all the big plays, but they want to be able to control the clock. You mentioned when you have the ability from a coordinator standpoint, talking about Miami, you have to do what's in the best interest of the personnel and the team that you have. Not to mention the head coach wants them running the football. Yeah, that's right. So that kind of helps you in your decision-making process. But this is going to be a fabulous matchup. And I think sometimes fans get really interested in what's going on the perimeter. The game is going to be won and lost up front, and this is going to be a fascinating matchup.
It's where Indiana, where they commit to doing all the little things right all season long. Fletcher's a big, strong running back. The Miami wide receivers break a lot of tackles, yards after the catch, yards after contact. We were doing the film breakdown. Yeah. Once one red jersey makes contact, that's it. You got an arsenal flow into the ball, and those hidden yards are going to make a huge difference in this game. Yeah,
I mean, you talk about Malachi Tony, guys. 70% of his yards come after the catch.
Yeah. Yes.
So can you tackle?
Open field tackling.
Can you wrap them up? All of those things are going to be at a massive premium here tonight, Kylan. Incredible run it has been for Curt Cignetti as an FBS head coach. Remember, he oversaw the transition for JMU from FCS to FBS, lost just 4 games in the last 2 years with the Dukes. He's 26-2 in 2 seasons at IU, 11 wins last year, 15 and counting this year. They had never won more than 9 in a season prior to his arrival. Cignetti on the mentality tonight as he looks for win number 27 and a national title.
I think it's time to sharpen the saw now. Throw those warm fuzzies out the door. That sentimentalism. It's time to go play a game against a great opponent. We got to have a sharp edge going into this game. And, you don't go to war with warm milk and cookies.
Gosh, I'd take some warm milk, though, Dave.
We would take some warm milk right now, yes. We just want to let you know it's not really all that warm right now in South Florida, if you hadn't
Cookies are fine,
noticed.
too, with the warm milk.
But again, like, this is the genius of Curt Cignetti, right? For a guy who really doesn't say all that many words, to the media anyway, the ones that he does say really pack a punch. And what a great quote and what a great insight into his mentality.
I mean, we talked about it earlier in this show. Like, he's talking to his team right there, okay? Like, that's what he does because he knows that they're watching in some way, shape, or form. It's going to get back to them, and they will understand. If they didn't, in the landscape of what they're doing as a team, that seeing Curt talk about it in public like that, okay, it kind of keeps triggering with them. And I think about his conviction in what he stands for, in his blueprint. It has just been, you see it, right? And and how much confidence does that build within a team? To know that the game plan, to know that the messaging, to know that the themes that your head coach is talking about, it works. He's right, and the proof is in the pudding. Google it; it's all there, Jake. And I keep coming back to that conviction and how important and how much that is spread throughout this program.
He said that a number of times this year. I go back to the Oregon game was the first time I heard him say it, where he said the number one job he had with his team was to ensure they were in the right mindset to play that game, to have the belief that they can get it done. And then you repeat it again and again and again until it almost doesn't need to be said. Now this team just believes whatever Cignetti says to them. But, I mean, it's because he lived the journey himself first. He bet on himself first. It's all that equity of him walking the walk for himself to where it's undeniable when he looks in the mirror. He knows he's the guy to get it done. That trickles on down throughout the organization and the program.
You know, you showed the graphic, those 5 coaches. Quite frankly, all of those guys, one's there, and the rest of them are on their way to being Hall of Fame coaches. Quite frankly, Cignetti is there already.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely. So when you think about what it takes to be a Hall of Fame coach, it's just not what he's done over the last 2 years at Indiana. Although that's what's going to get the most respect and that's what people are going to remember. But it is the groundwork. I think you mentioned it early, just the goodwill that he's built up, the ability to press all the buttons and to believe in the things that he needed to believe in, that he believed that would get you over the hump and be able to win. And to me, that's so much of the genius. He's been able to do it at so many different levels and getting people to buy in. You go back to him coming to Indiana, and it's about bringing his guys with him. And I think you'll see other coaches as they move up, they want to continue to bring their people with them so that they can have that infrastructure and those guys in the locker room that are able to galvanize and show them how we need to win football games. It's just been an amazing story, and really that is the genius. And you talk about a guy that doesn't use a lot of words because everything is going to be quick, but they're impactful. The things that he says, yes.
This is one of the things, what you're saying is one of the things I've thought about a lot as you kind of ponder this question. A lot of people have asked us, on a radio show, whatever, well, how's he done this? And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is this belief in what he has built and kind of how he runs things was tested at these lower levels. And you think about winning at places like IUP and Elon, which really hadn't had any success at all, and then JMU, you're not going to have vastly superior talent to your opponent at a place
or resources.
Like that, or resources. Everyone is largely on an even plane. There might be one program that, this place has historically done a little bit better in our league than these other places. But it's about winning on the margins. It's about surrounding yourself with a good staff. It's about finding the people who you believe are the right people. He talks so much about, does this young man love football? Does he love football? And because he loves football, and anyone who's been around Curt Cignetti knows he loves this. And so I think like all of that stuff, being able to win with equal talent to your opponent, or maybe even slightly lesser talent, all of that has accumulated here and has given him the blueprint to when he got a job like this, Rhett, he knew what he needed to do.
Well, and so much so that I go back to a conversation I had with athletic director Scott Dolson, who was kind of telling the story of the origin of identifying the traits he wanted in a head coach, and then how Curt Cignetti kept hitting them and checking all the boxes, and how, Curt told it. I think the last thing that Scott asked him on the phone in the initial conversation was, "You really think you can win here?" And Curt Cignetti said, "If you give me half the resources you're talking about, I will win here." And now half the resources have turned into a whole lot more from guys like Mark Cuban and company, who I think is going to join us a little bit later today on our pregame show, which is pretty awesome. But that's what belief and conviction in your blueprint has done. It is instilled that belief in others to join in and to be a part of this.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to know, like, will this be repeated again? How can it be repeated or replicated? Unless you find another Cignetti, and you don't. I mean, he's literally a once-in-a-generation or multiple-generation human being and leaders. I think I heard Urban Meyer say this at some point, and I completely agree with it. This is the most maximized football program in the entire nation. Every little possible button you could push or lever you could pull that could potentially give you an advantage to win is being pushed and leveraged and maximized by Cignetti.
Speaking of people who will join us later, Urban Meyer will be with us as well for the pregame show today. No, it's an incredible story. And Howard, you mentioned the Hall of Fame. His dad's in the Hall of Fame. It's pretty amazing because, again, you look at the criteria for Hall of Famers, he checks every box. A pretty incredible story that Curt Cignetti will be there. He's not concerned with that.
No, he's not. We are.
No, he's not.
We are.
We can do that.
He's concerned with beating Miami tonight, Kylan.
They are loud, they are proud, and they have traveled extremely well throughout this college football playoff run. No, I'm not talking about our own Dave and Ashley. I'm talking about the Indiana faithful. Fans have poured into Miami the last couple of days, hoping to watch history in the making tonight when the Hoosiers take on the Hurricanes. Ashley Adamson sat down with Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza to share some messages from his biggest fans.
We put together a little something for you.
There we go. Wow.
There you go.
It's a bang already.
Congrats to Fernando. What a great kid.
Fernando, Coach Dunn here.
Fernando, what up, brother?
Fernando, it's Coach Plow here.
What's up, Fernando?
Eli Manning here. Just want to congratulate Fernando Mendoza on such a special year he's having in Indiana this year. We had him at the Manning Passing Academy a few years ago, and I predicted it then that he was going to go to Indiana, win a Heisman Trophy, and play in a national championship game. So here we are. Congrats to Fernando. What a great kid, and it's been a special year.
Okay, coming from your weight room. Really proud of you. I can't tell you how good it makes me feel for you to be playing on this stage. Your football career is taking off. I'm so excited to watch you play on Monday night. I'm so proud of you. I'm honored to be your coach. What you do for the sport of football, for Columbus High School, for MS Research, for your mom. I'm pumped up and ready to watch you play your best game on Monday night, and I will pray for you as always.
Hey man, just wanted to say I love you and we're so proud of you. Christine, myself, the boys, watching all the success that you've had is a great testament to someone that puts in the work and wants to be great and has that rage to master. And you've shown that throughout your career, that you want to be great and you care about your teammates and you make them better. I can still think about those midnight meetings we had in Berkeley and the connection that we've had since our time together. Just so proud of you, the leader you are, the person you are, all the success you had, it's well deserved. So I want you to find joy tonight, buddy, and let it rip and go get those guys.
Hey, Fernando, Jack Andrews here. I just want to say congrats on the great season, buddy. I'm really proud of you. You know, after scout team to playing together, and now I'm watching you, it's been nothing but a blast. You're a very special player, and I'm excited to see what the NFL and this championship game has in store for you. Good luck.
It's Curtis Work here. I just wanted to reach out and congratulate you on an amazing season so far for you and the team. It's been awesome to watch you guys week in, week out. Just want to wish you guys good luck for this national championship coming up, and just go Hoosiers.
It's Matt Liner, man. I just wanted to send you a little video. First and foremost, I want to wish you good luck in the national championship game. Nothing changes, man. Prepare like you always do. Go out there. It's just another football game when that whistle blows, and I'm looking forward to watching that game. It's been an absolute pleasure to watch you play throughout your career, especially this year. We got to cover you. Your leadership, your humility. Obviously, the talent speaks for itself, man, but that's what I've been most impressed with. So continue to do that. Continue to be humble. Work hard. You're going to go great places. I'm excited to see you at the next level. But man, this year has been incredible. Heisman winner, welcome to the club. You know, we are connected now because my wife is Cuban. She's from Miami. She's from the 305. And as you know, if you're a part of the Cuban family, you feel like you got 47 cousins, dude. So apparently I feel like we're family now, buddy. But man, I'm rooting for you. Go get them. Finish the season strong, dude. And best of luck, man.
Congrats to Fernando. What a great kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Appreciate you sharing that with me.
Really cool to see. A gorgeous day down in Miami Gardens, Florida, where the Indiana Hoosiers are getting ready to perform on the biggest stage in college football. The top-seeded Hoosiers and 10-seeded Miami Hurricanes playing for all the marbles in the national title game coming up tonight at Hard Rock Stadium. Welcome back into our Chicago studios, and welcome back to Yogi Roth, who is here to break down more of this national title game. Yogi, got to start with that piece that we just saw, really well put together by our Big Ten Network team here. Some emotions there from Fernando Mendoza, and we talk so much about this Indiana story in terms of the team as a whole, but also for him individually. This was not a five-star big-name recruit out of high school. He didn't have a ton of offers. He goes to Cal, transfers into Indiana, and now has made a massive name for himself, wins the Heisman Trophy. He's also someone that's galvanized this locker room, and to me, you just want to root for. How big of an edge does Mendoza give the Hoosiers in this game tonight?
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, it's an amazing story to your point. You can't help but get emotional watching Fernando watch. I mean, this is an Indiana team that, as you know, has been so focused all season long. And Ashley Adamson maybe got Fernando Mendoza to reflect for like 3 minutes. Maybe we'll go there. But he should. I mean, and think about what is at stake. If he wins, he'll be the first quarterback since 2019 and Joe Burrow to win a Heisman and win a national championship, which is amazing. And Carson Beck in 2019 was in high school. I mean, he's in the recruiting class of C.J. Stroud, who just played yesterday in the NFL playoffs. So, yeah, it's a big opportunity. I think the advantage is what he has gone through off the field to prepare him for this, but also on it. He played against Miami a year ago when he was at Cal. I mean, different defensive coordinator, not exactly the same personnel, but the emotions of playing a hometown team who chose to not recruit you not only once, but then obviously twice. He didn't end up going there, ends up in Indiana. So I think that that's going to be a rep for Fernando Mendoza that's going to be massive walking into this one. And I love that the CFP, like everybody's known the stage. And we've been talking about Indiana maybe getting to the national title. We knew it was in Miami. And then when they found out it was against Miami, like he's had time to process this. So I think what Matt Leinart said, and I was at the national championship that Matt Leinart won, the first one, and all of a sudden SC, they just roll. And I think a big part of rolling early is settling your emotions and going back to what you do best. And for Indiana on offense, what they do best is allow him to be a point guard. We talked about it earlier. That's what he does. He's a distributor of the ball and at times keeps you honest with his legs. So I think he'll be able to channel the emotions. He gave away 3 minutes of being somewhat emotional. No more. Lock in. Here we go. Monday night kickoff a couple hours away.
Mendoza seems to do it time and time again in terms of locking in for the biggest moments and then showing composure in them. But you know how big this test is going to be, Yogi. Going up against this defensive line that we've talked about for Miami has been so dominant. Mendoza, throughout the course of this entire season, we've seen be so efficient, get the ball to his playmakers. At this point, you come to expect more touchdown passes than incompletions. But this is going to be a whole different beast outside of settling the emotions. What does Mendoza need to do in this game to set up this Indiana offense for success?
He's got to trust his eyes. That's the number one part of this offense under offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan, who I think is one of the premier play callers in the country. He's going to see a variety of different looks in this game. He's going to see a lot of speed. I think he's going to see the most talent he's seen all season long, more so than when he played against Ohio State, more so than against the Oregon Ducks twice. I mean, that's just the reality of playing in the national championship game against a team that's got an edge. Right, Miami is not seen clearly as the favorite in this one in anybody's eyes. So I think for Fernando, he's got to trust all of the preparation that was mentioned in that piece, the midnight study session that he has continued on. And then if they get to the fourth quarter, that's where I think the separator is. He thrives in the fourth quarter. And it's not just the plays that are made, but it's the decisions that are made, Kylan. He absolutely lets it rip. I mean, he's not trying to check the ball down. That's the biggest difference between these two teams. When you watch Carson Beck and the way they call the game late when it's tight versus Fernando Mendoza when it's tight. They are going for it. His yards per attempt, his yards per completion in big games when it matters most, it's through the roof. I mean, it is phenomenal. So I'm looking forward, if this thing is tight late, what he decides to do, because I think he'll drive the ball down the field. Charlie Becker, Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, we've seen it, Riley Nowakowski, a variety of playmakers have gotten involved, and it's because of what he's trusted. And I think in a game like this, against a premier team like Miami, you have no time to hesitate, and I don't think we should expect him to. He hasn't done it all season long, and I think that's the best part about Indiana. You're waiting for maybe the Cinderella part of their story to end, and then you go back to the truth. The truth is they got the best player in America at quarterback. They got one of the top 3 offensive lines in the country. They got the most disruptive defense. So Fernando Mendoza, he's just got to operate in the same fashion he has, and I think his maturity is going to allow him to do so in this game. I think we got a great game, but I do think, to your point, he is the difference maker, and I think he does it late.
Look, Indiana hasn't been in a lot of close games this year, but I keep going back to that Penn State game where Mendoza leads the game-winning touchdown drive in the final moments in one of the toughest environments in all of college football at Beaver Stadium. If that doesn't prepare you for an environment like this, where I expect to see more Hoosier fans in the stands, I don't know what will, but we'll have to see exactly how this one shakes out here. Again, coming up in just a couple hours.
Stadium, Miami Gardens. To say this is a hot ticket tonight would be a bit of an understatement. Latest prices I saw ranged from $3,700 on the low end to $25,000. That is per ticket, the most expensive game in college football playoff history. So if you're not coming to the game, if you don't want to open up the pocketbook, why not hang with us and get the insight into everything you need to know? One of the things we've been thinking a lot about is the players that may be slightly off the radar who could make an impact in this game. So I want to give each one of you an opportunity to talk about him. Who's your player to watch?
You know, it's funny, the guy that I'm going to go with, Pat Coogan, until a couple of weeks ago, you wouldn't have talked about him. Now that he's become an MVP, everyone's talking about him. But I think he's going to be an important part of what needs to happen. I know so much talk about leadership, and at the center position, you have to be able to have that leadership. He's going to be directing this offensive line. He's going to be turning them protections, whether it's to the right, whether it's to the left, trying to make those adjustments in game, in snap. He's going to be an important part. He's going to have some battles, some individual battles that he's going to have to win. He's not going to win them all, but I think his ability to really get this offensive line moving in the right direction will be a key to this game.
The intelligence of offensive linemen never gets enough discussion. And when you talk about the defensive line of Miami, they're not just defensive ends that line up over each tackle. On occasion, they'll put Mesidor and Bain all on the same side. And communication starts from the inside out with Pat Coogan. Indiana's going to have different protection calls. He's going to be the one to get them all on the same page to clean up those different protection packages. Red, I mean, you know, Pat Coogan was a key piece of this offseason in addition to get Indiana's offensive line to take that next step.
I mean, he's now like the linchpin of that offensive line, which I think you kind of expect, and it is kind of inherent with a center. But the way that he has come in and he kind of quietly established himself. He didn't come in and start giving those speeches that he did at Notre Dame. Like, he knew he had to earn his right to lead that group and that team. He has been phenomenal. Pass game, run game has been terrific.
And now he is the guy giving those speeches quite famously before the game. He had a great quote this week where he said, "Our superpower is our togetherness," and I think he's emblematic of that. And again, offensive line, I think it's a position where we see that just because of how much those guys have to work in unison with one another. But Coogan has certainly galvanized
Rever, this is going to be a game. He's made himself some money. He's going to be the type of guy. He's not a first-round draft pick, but he's a guy that's going to be playing.
You
for
hear his
10
name
years.
called. Yeah.
It'll happen for him.
And he's been here before, too, so they can lean on him, right? He played in a national championship game a year ago. So Coogan for you, who's your guy you'll be watching?
He's not under the radar. He's got bodies of water being named after him at this point. It's D'Angelo Ponds.
D'Angelo's
But look, you know, some guys, they're just different. They rise to meet the occasion. If you're going to try to win a national championship, you need your best players to elevate their game, and that's what Ponds has done all season long. Not just in coverage, but in tackling, playmaking, the ability to take the football away. And then I'll just add these two wrinkles. Special teams, we've seen him show up big this year. Obviously, the block punt against Illinois, and then I know you're a big fan, Rhett, of the little wrinkle we saw him on the offensive side of the ball.
Outstanding player. I think the first time we had a meeting with Coach Sig, he said, "That's our best player."
Yeah.
That is our best player.
And I have to say, I was guilty of looking over on the practice field and thinking, all right, I'm not sure that's a great thing.
He's 5'8", 170.
He's not that big a guy, but man, he's fabulous. And to your point, Jake, for those who haven't heard, there's a rainwater retention pond in Bloomington that they decided to call D'Angelo's Pond. The city council is behind this. It's not on Google Maps yet.
Yeah, it won't take long.
Just wait till
But it
tonight.
speaks to the impact that he has had. So, last one up here. Who are you watching tonight?
Mario Landino. Mentioned him a little bit earlier in the show. Number 97 on defense. He's the interior defensive lineman who did not start this season as like a starter type, but has developed like so many guys on this Indiana team. Week over week has gotten better. Now he and Tyree Tucker are the dudes. Although in the last couple of weeks, Mario's had to kick outside the defensive end where he played as a true freshman last year, so has a little bit of that knowledge and familiarity of that position. And with the injury to Daly, he's had to move around a bit. But he's responsible for Daniel Ndukwe's strip sack against Dante Moore in that game against the Peach Bowl. He is selfless. And, you know, one of my favorite things learning about him last year was that Brian Haynes was was like, we call him Crash Test because he is not afraid to put his face in the fan and get after it. That's the kind of dude you want at 280 pounds playing D-tackle.
I played in Denver with Von Miller, and then Derek Wolfe as that interior pass rusher was really the driving factor behind many of Von's sacks. That's what Landino does. I mean, he is, and so much has been made about the size of Miami's offensive line. Yeah. They have to deal with the quickness of Landino. That's going to be a real thorn in their side.
You know, one of the things that's been great about watching this team, and as coaches were talking about this 12-team playoff, and you needed to be able to go deep into this to the playoff, you need to have players. What Indiana has proven that they can not only have the guys that can step in, but they can step in and continue to play at the level or raise the level. And their players, their teammates have seen it, their coaches have seen it, and that's one of the reasons they're here.
And I think it's really cool that it's a young guy, right? Landino and Duque, too.
Yeah.
Charlie Becker, we've talked about stepping up, right? There's this narrative that's going around about, they're so old.
They're a bunch of old guys.
Which, by the way, Miami's really old, too.
Yeah.
But, they're so old. I think when you think about why this is going to be sustainable and what has made Curt Cignetti and his staff so good, they are incredible talent evaluators.
Yes.
When you look at these young players who've had to step up and play a role here in getting them to this championship game, we've had some young guys emerge, and Landino certainly one of those guys. Got some final thoughts before we call it a day, or at least call it a morning from here. But for now, let's go back to Kylan in Chicago.
If I could be anywhere other than Chicago right now, it would be here, down in South Florida, as we are just hours away now from the national championship game. Indiana and Miami meet for just the third time ever with everything on the line. One of these two teams will leave the field as national champions tonight, etching their name into college football history. Indiana on the brink of school history as well, hoping to bring home the program's first natty, and it's all thanks to head coach Curt Cignetti. He orchestrated the greatest turnaround in the history of college football. I'm putting it out there. Cignetti now with 26 wins in 2 seasons at Indiana. That marks the most by a head coach in their first 2 seasons in the AP poll era dating back to the 1930s. Ashley Adamson caught up with the Hoosier headman, who apparently slept in this morning. Let's listen in.
Coach, you've said all season that your job is to get your players in the right mindset to be able to go out and compete and leave it on the field. Do you think that your players have found the edge required to win a national championship tonight?
I liked yesterday. I thought that was a real good day for us. And, today's still a process and preparation because it's a 7:50 kickoff. So you got 11 o'clock meetings with the players and, a couple other things. But I like where we're at.
How about you? It sounds like you slept pretty well last night.
I haven't done 9:30 in the morning for at least 5 years.
9:30 a.m. sleep in. I think you're ready to roll. You guys have finished so well all season long. What is the most important thing that you need to do to be able to finish tonight?
Do our jobs. Play in, play out. Be consistent. Execute. Be disciplined, poised. Play our game. Before you win it, you can't lose it. Miami's got a lot of talent. Very aggressive. They're going to attack. They're a highly penalized football team. We are not. We can't get involved in the type of game, playing with our mind. We got to play with our pads and be very disciplined in what we do.
Looking forward to watching. Thank you so much, and good luck tonight.
Thank you.
Ashley Adamson rocking the sparkles out there in South Florida. Prior to Coach Cignetti being hired in November of 2023, Indiana had the most losses in the history of college football, and Coach Sig has totally flipped the script. Just 3 bowl game wins in the first 125 seasons of the program. They got some big bowl wins en route to the Natty this season. Now just looking for one more win to actually capture that national championship here tonight, coming up in Miami Gardens, Florida. Yogi Roth back with us. And Yogi, this title game so fascinating for so many reasons, and the coaching matchup is one of them. Coach Sig has made history and really captured the nation with what he's been able to do with this Hoosier program, the AP National Coach of the Year, back-to-back seasons. Then you look at Mario Cristobal on the other side, coaching at his alma mater, where he won 2 titles as a player, so you know this means a lot to him. You've gotten to see both of these individuals up close and personal. What stands out about these 2 coaches?
Well, I mean, their stoicism, maybe. They mirror one another. You watch them in interviews, you see them at their press conference. And remember, Mario Cristobal was like moments away from being a Secret Service agent. And then he was like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to stay as a graduate assistant. And now here he is leading a very proud program that he is known as well as anyone. So I think a few things, though, specifically in this game stand out. You just heard it from Coach Cignetti. You basically said we don't play with our pads, not our mouth, which means you don't want to get caught up in the energy and the juice and all the things that come with huge stages. Indiana, the fourth least penalized team in the nation. Miami, 98th. I mean, that has been an issue for the Hurricanes. So they can't get involved in that. And if they start to jaw, Indiana's got to quiet themselves, play with the stoicism that can mirror their head man. I think, too, I think this is going to be a fast game. I really believe it, the way these teams run the football. So possessions will be limited, meaning what decisions are both of these head coaches making? When it's third and short, is it 4-down territory? When it's fourth and short, are they going to go for it? When it's 4th and 5 from midfield, are they going to go for it? Where are the fakes in the kicking game? And those are the little things I think you'll want to really keep your eye on tonight. The decisions of both of these coaches, especially late in the game as they start counting the possessions based on how they both love to run the football, especially in the second half. And then finally, it's my favorite stat when I'm calling games the Rhett and Guy, which is the vaunted middle eight, right? It's the final 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. And this is where you can steal a possession. And Indiana is elite there. In the CFP, they've outscored their opponents 21-0. They are a plus 97 on the season against their opponents. So when you watch Curt Cignetti coach, or when you talk to him about the intricacies of the game and why he's not showing a ton of emotions, because he's always doing math in his head. He's calculating how many possessions can we have? When do I need to utilize my timeouts? He's been masterful. End of half, end of game, of stealing possessions or making it really hard for his opponent. So I think that will be a big part of this game. I don't think this is going to be a 3-score blowout by Indiana by any stretch. I think this one will be one in the margins. Who will have more possessions? Who will win on those 3rd and 4th down opportunities? And then the decisions that these coaches make, if they want to flip the field, if they want to go for it, I think that will tell the story of this game when it's all said and done.
I think I've seen Coach Sig smile once or twice, maybe, throughout the course of the CFP run.
Smile here and there.
Yeah, maybe once or twice. But talking a little bit more about his leadership, you mentioned the stoicism, but also the poise that Coach Cignetti shows, the confidence and belief that he has in his players that we hear so much about. When it comes to a high-pressure situation like a national title game, you're expecting it to be close. How big of a difference does it make to have a leader like that you can look to on the sidelines?
Well, I think the number one thing for elite leadership in football and in head coaching is you have to be uncommonly consistent. He has been that. I can remember showing up there in year one and watching the efficiency of his practices, his meetings, talking to players, them echoing the same message from their position coaches, who get it from the coordinators, who of course get it from Curt Cignetti. And he's found creative ways to get that messaging out to his players, whether it's utilizing us in the media, saying it directly to them. He's been masterful at being uncommonly consistent. 2, he's been very independent in thought. And I think when you're looking at both head coaches, they come from the Nick Saban tree. And oftentimes, as you see Coach right here, some coaches can try to be the one who has mentored them. He's not trying to be Nick Saban. He's trying to be the best version of him. He's not trying to be his dad, who's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's not trying to be his brother, who's been an offensive coordinator all over football. I think that's a really impressive element. So he's really independent in his thought, which means he knows who he is. And then finally, and I think this is really in the last 15 years or so, you have to be an elite communicator. And that's exactly what he is. I mean, whether he's with us and it's kind of fun, or at times it could be a little awkward, like he's been elite in that regard of utilizing economy of words, utilizing the clearest of message and getting it as directly to his players as humanly possible. And I think those 3 things have really stood out when I look at his leadership traits, because it's not, to your point, not just how he's acting on the sideline. There is such breadth and depth to his style. He's worked on it so long. And I just love that we're in an era of you want it all now. He waited till he was 50 to get his first head coaching job at IUP in Western Pennsylvania. And now, since he got it because he honed his craft, he's done nothing but win at a premium level since he's had that big title of head coach next to his name. And I think it's just a great lesson for all young coaches. So yeah, in spades, he's got a lot of leadership traits that I think will carry over to decisions that can be made tonight that will allow his team to hoist the national championship trophy.
All great points there, Yogi. My final thought on Curt Cignetti, you brought up him being an individual, is the way that he built this roster. There is not a single five-star recruit on this Hoosiers team that has been blowing out some of the best teams in college football. He brought over a bunch of players from James Madison that were unproven at this level, that so many people question. Can they compete with the powerhouses in college football like the Ohio States? He's a really unique evaluator, and he's been able to put it all together, find the right dogs, as he mentioned in the offseason, and put a team out there that is now on the cusp of making history for this Indiana program.